I'm Jeff from XS Customs. Some of you old school bodybuilders and gym goers may know us as Pain Tray 52. From back in the day, I'm here with Miles Nuessle from Miles Productions. This guy is anything and everything bodybuilding in Arizona for a very long time. Miles, you want to give him a little background about when you started and how long you've been doing this?
Well, first of all, my name is Miles Nuessle.
Excuse me.
No one knows the last name. You're always known as Miles. Got a unique name there. But yeah, it's been a minute. This is my 26th year of promoting for the NPC. I was the chairman for 24 years. That was a blast. Had a good time doing that. And still going strong. Still loving it. It's thrilling. I'm just excited today, as it was 26 years ago, putting on these shows.
Right.
I love dealing with the athletes. I love when they tell me their stories, and you know what's really cool now, Jeff, is I'm getting to my second generation of competitors. I'm having mothers and daughters and the second generations come out and competing together. Like they come to me and go, I competed back with you in 1995, and now with my son or my daughter, and we're competing together. And second generations of them doing that. I'm like, oh my gosh. One, it makes me feel old, but two, it's so satisfying. And it's like, you know, when I did your show back in the 90s, it changed my life. It gave me confidence to do anything in life after I'd done a show. And if you think about that, Jeff, I mean, you know, take a girl and put her in a bikini in high heels in front of 1,000 people. That's pretty gutsy. Same with a guy with the little posing trunks and doing that, and it gives them so much confidence. I hear their stories, how it helped them successful in life, and they said, kind of like Dan Gable said about wrestling, once you've done bodybuilding and you competed on stage, you can do anything in life. It really makes it just a wonderful experience and gives them confidence. And hearing those stories just still excites me. It's an exciting thing about promoting these shows.
My first question for you, Miles, would be a little insight on what it takes to be a competitor. Somebody who's never done a show. Everybody's got the my friend said this and my friend said that mentality, and this is what from somebody who knows. Let's give them a piece of information as to what it really takes. First timer going in. I
tell you, you know, Jeff, I think a lot of people out there want to do shows. I bet right now the show's a little smaller because of COVID. Let's say we have an average of 100 competitors. I guarantee if you went out to Arizona and the bordering states, people can do our shows, say 12, 13 weeks out. I think you all tested this. Well, you're a personal trainer. You know, I'm going to do a show, and how many follow through? I bet easily, if we're ending up at 100, I bet you would have 400 or 500, even 600 people say, hey, I'm going to do the NPC Arizona Open this year. And to say it and do it is two different things, right? This matching up to this is two different things. It's hard. It is a lot of work. People don't understand the dedication you have to the sport of bodybuilding. And Jeff, we kind of talked about this off camera. When we say bodybuilding and we're talking about this, bikini, that's bodybuilding. Figures bodybuilding, wellness, new divisions bodybuilding, all that, right? So to be able to do that and to follow that regimen of the dieting and of the training and of the cardio, it's an all-inclusive sport. Everything you do, even the amount of calories that you do walking or you know, if you want to hike or do something extra or you want to take a trip, you got to bring your food. You got to eat every 3 hours. You got to weigh it out. You got to measure it. It's perishable. You got to take care of it. Bring your ice chest. These used to be the old six-pack days. I'm not sure if that's a big deal or not, but the amount of dedication it takes to do these shows, people just don't understand until it comes time to do it. And it is competitive, especially in Arizona. It's very competitive. That's probably the biggest thing is people don't understand what it takes, the dedication to commit yourself to 100%. You know, you play football, you go to football practice, pretty much eat what you want, you're done for the day. Bodybuilding, no. You're doing training probably twice a day. You're doing cardio twice a day maybe. You're eating every 3 hours. Well, big deal every 3 hours. Well, you got to measure it, weigh it. Work with a trainer like Jeff. What exactly, how many carbs, how much fats, how much protein they're taking in. You got supplements on top of that. It's a job. It's a full-time job 24/7. And for a minimum, what, Jeff, 12 to 16 weeks, most people diet for a show? Yeah. That's what people don't understand. And then to put yourself out there in almost nothing and have 7 people not really looking what's best in you, they're trying to find faults in your physique and find out who's got the most faults, sometimes, to find out who the winner is. And you're being judged on your body. That's personal. That's a lot to take in. It really is. It surprises me 100 people doing the shows. It really is. It's tough, and it's tough on the family too. It's tough on relationships.
Yeah, I remember in my younger years, and they would say, "Only God can judge me." And I would say, "And in bodybuilding."
And 7 NPC judges.
Right.
God and 7 NPC judges.
Right. It's a little bit different. And then going into understanding, like he was saying, that I don't think any class differentiates in the sense of the training. It's hard no matter, or rigorous training no matter what class you choose to be in. But I think a quick breakdown to try to give some ideas, especially because I'm even a little bit uncertain about the new wellness class. So what I'm going to throw at you is we're going to do just a little piece here. I'll throw out a class, and then you give them a little information about what that class is, so they can kind of have an idea what that criteria really is. So we'll start with bikini, for instance. If you can give them a little information about what it takes to be bikini versus figure, so on and so forth. You understand?
Yeah, bikini is, it's really changed over the years. I tell you what, folks, go back and Google and search out the first bikini national winner. To what that girl was, to what it is now, is totally different. It is night and day different physique. So I think we gotta be careful with bikini as far as making it too muscular, too lean. Bikini kind of speaks for itself. I think it definitely should be, oh gosh, bodybuilders hate to use this term and hate that word, but I think it should be a softer look. I don't think it should be so muscular. The way it's described in our rules, it's about a well-balanced physique. It's not about having big capped off shoulders and having separation, the muscle bellies and things like that. It should be more of a girl that looks fit, looks good in shape. I think sometimes we get a little too far in that, and you can see that with the judging on the national level, and we get it kind of hardcore, and then backs off a little bit. And folks, it's nature. Isn't it what we do? Bigger, faster, stronger, right? We want faster cars. We want to run faster, lift more weights. Whatever we do as human nature is we're always pushing forward. And so I understand that the natural instinct of a human being, and also in the NPC competitive world, is you want to get a little bit bigger, a little harder. And that's where we got to be careful with bikini, because it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a little bit softer look, more in shape. So we got to be real careful in bikini, not make it too hardcore. Not dieting down too much, about dehydrating too much. And so it should be more of a more mainstream look, if you want to say. Take the average person off the street, you show a bikini girl, and you say, hey, would you want to look like this? Most people should say, yeah, it's a look that it's achievable, and a look that I really like to have. It's a healthy look. And we got to make sure we keep bikini there, a nice healthy look to it.
And because I think that bodybuilding, male or female, I think that category is the same. So we'll skip over female bodybuilding for now, and we'll go straight to let's just discuss quickly the difference between figure and physique on the female spectrum before we go over to the male side.
Well, we had the first division come into female divisions was probably in when was probably around for the females? Probably 82-ish?
Yeah, it's been early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah. So bodybuilding was the first coming in. And if you look at Rachel McClish, the first Miss Olympia, right? Gosh, I think she's almost bikini nowadays. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And that's why I say we got to be careful with bikini. Look how far it's progressed.
It's that, I would say it's a cross, because that's a tough word, because I feel the softness of the original female bodybuilder was closer to bikini, but I think that the muscle size was closer to figure.
Totally
so
agree
it's kind of a line.
It's in between, yeah. So, figure, I think what you want to do with figure is get back to more of a Rachel McClish type physique. And if you took Rachel McClish when she won Olympia, she'd be hard pressed to be hard enough for bikini. Or, I'm sorry, not bikini, but for figure nowadays, right? That's what I mean. It's really wanting to use more progress or move forward as far as, more hardcore like that. But figure, once again, is for a woman. You look at her and say, yeah, this girl definitely lifts, and she lifts hard, and she's got, some muscle on her. Nice capped off shoulders, nice lats going up like this, a good sweep to the hamstrings, good sweep to the quads, nice calves. This girl works out hard. Now, to the extent of a bodybuilder, a Linda Murray, when it was given to Kim Kazewski, how you say it? Is that how you say your name?
Iris
Sorry, Kim, I
Carl.
messed up your name.
and Iris Carl and Lena Popa.
Yeah. And it was getting to the point where they were getting so big and so shredded that I was getting less and less people doing it. And obviously the average person was like, I thought it was beautiful, and I respect those women so much. The amount of time and energy put into it and make the bodies that way is just wonderful, but it's not mainstream. It's really not going to bring the numbers in there. So I think they brought figure along to keep it down to more of a Rachel McCush, where a lot of women look at figure going, not every girl looks at it that way, and every guy wants their girl to look that way, but quite a few people do. It's like, yeah, I want to be different. I don't want to be a bikini girl. I want that more athletic look and muscular look.
All the female bodybuilding is now just basically wings now, right? I mean, they haven't brought it back to the nationals, have they?
Yes. And what's the gentleman's name? Oh my gosh.
God. I know Lena Popa is the co.
He owns the Olympia now.
Yeah, she's the co-sponsor. Alina Popa is now the co-sponsor for Wings of Strength, and I know that. I see her almost every day. But,
by the way, a side note, I'm glad you took over, because that guy loves bodybuilding.
Right, yes.
I think it's going to take Olympia up to a whole new level.
Right, and then
he's got the money, and he's got the passion, he's got a love for it. I've personally never met him, and he actually lives in Arizona. Yeah. It's weird all these years.
I wish I
he's
could
going to bring
his
his
name off the top of my head. I've talked to him several times, and I can't.
Yeah, he's a very nice man.
But
yeah.
Yeah, and I do. I keep tabs on it a little bit.
But then answer your question about figure, what they're looking for in their figure. Why it got brought about. So definitely more muscular, definitely bigger, definitely look at this girl and says, yeah, this girl obviously has a lot of time in the gym. Versus bikini, yeah, this girl spends time in the gym to get more of that feminine look.
Right.
Not that figure's not feminine, what I say. But you know what I mean, to the average public.
Yeah, there was a time where I used to say bikini is born, not built. But it's just a theory in my head.
Bikini girls, he said that, not me. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
But I believe that about bodybuilding. If that makes everybody feel better, I think there's an aesthetic and a shape that is a genetic piece. I don't believe that the training has anything to do with genetics for all the guys that are going to get upset by the statement. I think that anybody can work hard enough to be a bodybuilder. I just think that the genetic part is more in the aesthetic of their personal body style.
I don't see too many Dexter Jacksons Jacksons walking around or Phil Heaths.
It's a symmetry type of thing. That's the symmetry genetic part of it. I don't think, people say that all the time. I think that some people have an ability to easily get to a larger size than other people, and that's genetic. But when it comes to bodybuilding, none of that is even part of the equation. To get to what it takes to be a true bodybuilder, it takes work. It doesn't matter how genetically gifted you are.
It does, but also I think, Jeff, too, genetics is a huge part of it.
It's a physical form.
I can go out there and I can practice basketball all day long. And I could be more dedicated to Michael Jordan, and I could practice as a little kid. Would I ever even play in college basketball? My genetics?
Yeah, I'm truly agreeing.
No.
I'm in agreement.
You go out and lift weights and do all the right things, and you've trained people, right? And they train harder than some of your bodybuilding champions. They don't put muscle on. They don't have the genetics. So it is genetic. I think everybody can say this. Flex Wheeler was probably the most genetic gifted bodybuilder the world's ever seen. Would you not say he's at least top 5?
He's definitely top 5.
Why wasn't Flex Mr. Olympia many, many times over? And he'll say it himself. He didn't put 100% every day of every moment into it like a Ronnie Coleman.
And I will say that genetically he also had some genetic illnesses and things that would have never allowed him to make it through 8 Olympias. Flex went through some strong health issues early on that even he could have never made 8 because the time limit, he went through quite a bit during that time.
No, what I'm saying,
and
he even admits himself is that when he was young before all the health problems kicked in, that he didn't put everything into it.
Right.
And one of the most genetically gifted of all time. Ronnie Coleman, also genetically gifted all the time. What was the difference between Ronnie and Flex?
He was a worker.
And by the way, I'm not bad about Flex. He would admit this. I've seen interviews saying this.
And I'm going to say this controversially, and most of these people won't even know who I'm talking about. But I believe that one of the only guys who could have been Ronnie Coleman was Chris Cormier. I believe that Chris Cormier had all of the genetics to do it, and he had calves. And that was the difference between him and Ronnie. I just don't ever think he, just like Flex, I don't think the work ethic to be a Ronnie Coleman was there. Yeah, but that would be my guy if I had to pick. Don't get me wrong, Flex, love you to death guy, but You know, Chris was that guy.
By the way, to the average human being, they couldn't hold it. They would never be able to train flexible at all.
No.
We're talking flexible and Ronnie Coleman, the insanity and a normal guy.
Yeah. Off this, he was off.
And he paid the price.
Completely different.
Paid the price for it.
Decisions in life, quantity, quality. You gotta learn.
He has no regrets.
Yeah.
I watched his. Have you seen When We Were Kings?
Of course.
Ronnie Coleman?
Of course.
Oh, I'm a fan after that, especially.
Ronnie Coleman was my reason for doing it all.
Oh, he's my hero. Such my hero.
Yeah, I'd take nothing from Ronnie. But yeah, so that was a little bit on physique and that. So then we'll just jump over to the male classes, and we'll go into men's physique. Is, you know, the lower of the size classes, theoretically. And we'll kind of go into a little bit about the, you know, so men's physique as a class was meant to be versus what it is. So I guess more on this is, if someone was doing a Miles show, you know, they're coming in and they're going to do a Miles show here in Arizona, what would be expected of them to be a top competitor at that show?
Well, with that said, it should be, and that's what the NPC is pushing really hard to do. That's why there's very few chairmen anymore. They want, the analogy put to me is, if you walk into an Arby's in Arizona, you walk into Arby's in New Jersey, you expect the same meat, the same bun, the same sauce, basically the store you look around. So it really shouldn't be a Miles, looking for Miles once in Arizona. It should be what another promoter across the country is looking for. It should be what the NPC is looking for.
Right.
And that's what we want. We want consistency, which I think we've always done that. When I was a chairman, we follow the guidelines. What they give for us, very much so.
And what I want to say to people is that the reason why I'm wording it this way is because I've always felt that Miles followed the standard of what the NPC said they wanted done. So the reason why I worded it as, to win a Miles show, what would it take? You know, what should they expect to bring as a package to one of your shows, based on the fact that you go off of the standard of what the NPC asked you?
Well, again, there's some people that go more towards me. I think we should bring bikini and men's physique down a notch. I really think we do. I think it's, once again, more mainstream. And once again, a guy looks at men's physique and says, I can achieve that, I think, with a year or two of training. And I think I don't have to get crazy in my diet and be able to do these things, be able to compete in that, to have this huge class of people doing the men's physique, like a huge class doing bikini. Once again, I think we got to be careful. You talk to a lot of competitors now that don't really want to do it anymore because they say, Miles, it's bodybuilding and board shorts. I don't want to do bodybuilding. I want to do more of a physique show. So I think, once again, we got to be careful. And you can see the trend, you know, the years goes like this, the pendulum, right, back and forth. Every year at Nationals, we talk about that. Not about every year, but the pendulum going. We got to be careful to bring it down because it's, you know, it's a little more of I don't know if entry level is the right way to say it, but I guess you could use it that terms. When we're having people winning physique and winning the bodybuilding in the same show, I just think there's something wrong with that. It should be two completely different looks. But once again, I talk about it's human nature. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. So I think as an organization, we're real careful not to push it too far, to keep it down a little bit to make it more entry level. Because I've had people who win physiques that actually couldn't do classic physique because they're too heavy for it. And there's kind of your signs, like, uh-oh. So Jeff, what I like to see, my wish would be, and maybe something that they might think about national level sometime, is we have a height and weight in classic physique, right? I think to protect the integrity, not the integrity, but to protect the look of physique, why not introduce a height and weight to physique? And maybe it's 20% lighter than classic, 10% lighter. I don't know, pick somewhere. And that way, we now can say, you're too big. Why? Because you weigh too much. So it kind of takes away the your perspective. Because right now, men's physique is pure perspective. What I think may be too big, you think, no, Miles, he's not too big at all. But if you had height and weight, that takes all that weight, doesn't it? Now you don't have to look at a guy in men's physique going, he's too big. Well, he's not too big because he made the weight and height.
And I fear that...
How do you feel about that? Something like that.
I fear that men's physique was kind of a tough one from the beginning because you're basing it off of and again, not to take anything away from any singular person, but they did not... Legs is not part of the equation, as we know, because of board shorts and cover. So if you say this is a weight class, or a height class for something, a guy that has legs and an upper body is going to look a lot smaller than the guy who didn't train legs at all.
Sure.
So we have to, it is very hard to create that variable and understand, like, how do we pick a size and weight parameter when a guy can choose to have, you know what I mean? Like, it still becomes a conundrum because we're not balancing out a body to the point where if I can put all my weight in the upper body, but I still fit in this number.
No, but I certainly
and I get where you.
I certainly think it helps.
From. I do, and I agree with you. I'm just saying it's still a conundrum.
Let's say he did no legs at all, and he's got an extra 10 pounds of upper body. Okay, it's 10 pounds. It's not 30.
Right.
We've seen guys on stage where the same height, and one is 30 pounds heavier than the next guy. You know, that's quite a bit of difference in size. Right. So let's say the guy didn't do legs and he has an extra 10 pounds. It's not a perfect system, but at least it helps.
It is starting
keep
to
them from
create
getting
a system.
So big. I think it would really help the judging. I think it would help the competitors know what the look is going for now. So now it's more on how shredded they are. You've got to be careful about that, right?
That's the one that gets
And,
me.
you know, to me it's more about symmetry, really about the beauty of the physique. You know, the square pecs,
and that's
nice
what
abs,
and that's what I thought
not being
was
shredded.
My thing was that was the line in the sand for me definitively is they kept wanting it to be harder and harder and harder.
Human
and
nature.
I said to myself is that how is it a beach body if it's 4%? Nobody is walking around on the beach at 4%. This is, you know what I mean? Like, you couldn't even deal with the heat at 4%. You're dehydrated. It just seemed to me, I didn't understand. I always felt the conditioning was a big part of men's physique going wrong for me. It went to such a hard body that even size was irrelevant to the point that you got guys that are shredded to the nails.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the point of that was when I don't think that was ever the intention.
Yeah, there's always two ways to look at it too. If you look at the more, we'll call it hardcore people, okay, Miles, well, show me where it says in NPC that it's a beach body. I don't see that in the rules. That's a good point. But then again, read how it describes. It describes somebody who's shredded. It talks about not being shredded. You know, so we just gotta be careful. It's very, very subjective. That's why I think the height and weight will take some of the subjectivity out of it and help the judges a little bit more, because it's tough. You know, when I'm invited to judge a different state and judge for them, it's tough. It really is tough doing this thing. If we had more guidelines and say what's, you know, a little more black and white, let's just say, it might help us out a little bit, judge a little bit more.
And that's what I think. I think the criteria across the board needs to be a little more, I guess, well written to break down the standards of these things.
Yeah, it's a lot of interpretation involved, huh? It's tough. And I always tell people too, I tell you what, folks, you think it's easy to judge these shows and I know how to pick them out? Go to whoever's controlling the judging in your state, and matter of fact, get a hold of me. I'll send you the powers to be, and you know, get involved and get behind that judge's table. When you're 10 feet away versus sitting halfway in the auditorium, 80, 90 feet away, eating your popcorn, having your drink, and going, I pick her and her or him and him. When it's on you now, and you're 10, 12 feet away, and you're seeing everything, you're paying 100% attention, I guarantee you'll be going, oh crap, it's much harder than I thought. It is really, really tough to judge these shows. So it's always easy to sit in the background and criticize the judging. But to actually sit there and do it, oh my gosh, it is so hard.
And just to understand what you're supposed to be judging and what the criteria is.
It's a lot of pressure.
If people really had a chance to see what the real criteria was, they would find out how much difficult it is. How much more difficult it is to judge than they think. I've been sitting next to people in the audience and they'll say, but this. And I'll be like, yeah, but that's not part of what they're looking for. Nobody wins because of that. That's not.
For example, somebody, but it's not a beach body. That's not the rules.
Or they'll say, that guy's way bigger than him. Yeah, there's so much more than just being bigger. Yeah. You know, we talked about that with another thing earlier. But yeah, so size isn't enough. Being shredded isn't enough. You know, that having great abs is not enough. If there's 5 things, if you don't have 4 of them, you're not going to win. And that's what people don't get. It's a big judging thing, and it's harder to understand. So what we'll go back over to is this one, because I thought it might take a little more time. There's a new class for females called wellness. I think that one is kind of, old classes are hard enough to determine what they're supposed to be. So, you know, even for me, this is a learning lesson, guys, because I want to hear what this exactly is. You know, it's been kind of a conundrum for me. I've been trying to really figure out what it is as a whole. So I'm going to ask you, Miles, to explain to me what wellness is.
Well, again, we're at the incipient stage of that particular class, and just like bikini, it dramatically changed a few years into it, didn't it? And it kind of worked itself into it. If you look at bikini in the beginning, it was a suit off the rack, and go to Target, buy a suit, and look where it is now. $900 suits with studs over it. So with wellness, it is evolving. It's not, we don't know quite where it's going to end up yet, but we're getting a better grip on it for sure. It's been a few years now. And the difference is a little bit thicker, especially on the bottom portion of it. Goes a little bit thicker glutes, thicker quads, thicker hamstrings, definitely a thicker lower end. A little bit thicker on the upper body, but especially the bottom end. And there's a lot of calls there because girls can put on muscle, generically speaking, much easier. And Jeff, you know that from being a personal trainer, on the lower body and upper body, right? Is that right? Easy to say?
Yeah.
They build quads pretty easy, glutes pretty easy, compared to upper body. And so it's just for those girls a little bit more developed downstairs than upstairs so much. And just to have a different look, because a lot of girls were doing that, didn't quite fit that whole bikini look to it. And I was hoping when that came out that bikini would, like I say, come down just a little bit to get more people interested in doing it.
So you think we're placing wellness somewhere between bikini and figure, or is it?
Oh, for sure.
Is that
for
where?
sure.
Okay,
For sure.
so
Yeah.
that was where I was trying to figure out, like, how is this going to affect women's physique? Because, like I said, we're talking about more muscle somewhere, but then less muscle somewhere else. So, being between figure and bikini, maybe making a bigger gap between the two is a good thing. I get that, you know, like, so I, like you said, bringing bikini down, it pushes a gap between them, so they're not. Yeah, I understand it a little better now, because at the time, I think originally my thought was that this was supposed to fit between figure and physique, and I thought to myself, there's no room left between figure and physique.
No, they're blended pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, I've seen girls that literally, if they posed hard in figure, they would be physique.
For sure.
So I don't think there's any line to fit in between those two classes. So that was my original thought, is how can you fit something between these two classes?
Well, and almost any show you go to, either local or even national level, is the people blur the lines, and they call it tweeners. I'm a tweener.
Right.
Like, I don't know if I should do bikini or figure. I'm a tweener. I don't know if I should do figure or physique. I'm a tweener. That's the nickname we give them, is tweeners. Some people are just in between.
Right.
And you got to know which way to go. And a lot of it, like you said, is how you pose. You know, if you're more muscular and harder, and you want to do figure, and you're a tweener, as we call it, don't flex so hard when you're doing figure.
And I always felt like,
you know what I mean? Don't flex. Maybe don't spread out so hard. You know, do your
and
know
some
your
of those
sport
girls
and know how to
that
pose.
Figure. Some of the I wouldn't even say the most recent, but like I said, you go back to Candace and some of those girls that were competing. Time I was like, I think this girl, she just started flexing here.
Right?
And she was, this much harder. She's physique, like, but.
And with physique, I think they've done a great job with the posing.
Oh, yeah.
It really, really changes the looks of it. I love the classical posing. You can almost call it classic physique, right?
There you go.
It's their version of classic physique, kind of. I love the pose. It's just beautiful. And it does give the judges an opportunity to say, hey, this might be a little much. And bodybuilding, we used to have, like, Bev Francis was like the first big musclehead bodybuilder come out, right? And you had some others come out the years. And when, bodybuilding, how do you say there's a limit? Being too big and too shredded. Right. It's bodybuilding. There's no limit.
No lie.
And if it's not a limit for men, why should it be a limit with women? How do you do that? I'm sorry, but you're too big, too shredded. It's bodybuilding. So they brought in women's physique, which is very similar to bodybuilding. I love the classic posing. Now this is a division where they say, hey, this is a little bit too much.
Right.
And as you say, Wings and Strength is bringing back bodybuilding.
And that's what
the only ones.
I'm very happy Wings and Strength existed, and they've done a lot because people were pushing back. I felt that the push against even men's bodybuilders for some time was getting a little aggressive. We heard the people talk about guts and this, that, and I was very happy. Unlike other things, I was very happy to see Classic coming.
Oh,
people like, I want to see the old Arnold bodies come back and this, that, and the other. And there was a big thing for me as a bodybuilder that said, good. You wanted your Arnold bodies back. It's not you have it. Can you please leave these guys to their own devices? because there's no limit to what they do. You can't ask for something and then complain about the side effect of it. So
when Classic Physique came out, I did a lot of research, especially the first year. What are we looking for in Classic Physique, and the posing and the look we're looking for? And I came across the Olympia with Bob Paris, the one at the end where he lays down and he's dying on stage. I don't know, 84-ish maybe or something like that. Gosh, 87-ish. I don't know, somewhere in the 80s. And by the way, was that posing back then? How was the posing back then? Was it better back in the 90s, or am I just me? Because I'm a 90s guy, 80s guy. I don't know. Am I crazy, or was the posing like...
Well, there was a time where I feel like, do you remember back in the day when they used to do couples and...
I love that.
Right,
Yeah.
but there was like an art to it all. And we kind of got rid
Melvin
of the
Anthony's.
whole...
I mean, we're those people.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
We kind of got rid of the art and went
gosh.
straight for the brute part of it, you know.
Anyway, when I look at Bob Paris's routine, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was just beautiful. His body is like unbelievable. Well, they showed his weight at the beginning and his height and weight. You know, he's only like 5 or 6 pounds over Classic Physique.
Oh yeah, no, these
do
guys,
that.
well, the old
And
schoolers
so
weren't very big.
the big question for me when I was chairman and putting the judging panel together. By the way, I never judged. I just put the panel together. Never did that. Never controlled the judging. Let the judges do that. Oh my gosh, stay away from that.
Yeah.
Stay away from the judges table. But I said, well, let's watch this video of Bob Paris in Olympia that year. Watch his routine. Watch what he does. And folks, I think this is Classic Physique, hands down. And by the way, he's only 5 or 6 pounds over the weight. Right. And we play his routine, as you know, at all the judging clinics. Every year we had a judging clinic in March. February? March? Yeah. And for our beginning of March. And at the end, I would say, any questions? That's what men's physique is, to the T. I'm like, nope, we get it. And that's why I still think it is today. I still think it's, that to me is the easiest, I don't know if easy is the right word, the most clear cut. So we talk about subjectivity. I think Classic Physique is the best one for judges to say, hey, we have criteria, we have guidelines, and it makes it a little bit easier to judge that class because we have the boundaries. And what a wonderful class it is, but that's the way I explained it.
I guess that works. I think it's about evenly between that and the 212s, I guess. I mean, 212s are pretty much solid.
Yeah. Well, bodybuilding is...
I mean, it's always been...
Yeah.
Definitively, there was an understanding that as crazy as you want to be...
Yeah, because we talked about this off camera, right? We took we have Troy Ellis here, who was born and raised in Arizona here, so we know him quite well. Right. If you guys remember Troy Ellis, IFBB Pro, Symmetry is crazy on Troy. You have Troy Ellis and you have a Branch Warren. In bodybuilding, you can have either one beat each other and be fine with it, right? A Dxvynscxtt or
you had Dxvynscxtt and actually...
Who do you beat? Why can't I think of his name?
Even Dxvynscxtt versus...
they beat each other. Oh my gosh.
He's won more number 2s than anybody in history. Jake.
Thank you, Jake Cutler. So sorry, Jake Cutler. This is
so
you had Dxvynscxtt beat Jay, and then Jay beat Dxvynscxtt. Right? Yeah, right. 2 complete different physiques.
Yeah, not even close.
Now, Classic, a Jay Shea would never win, right?
No.
Jay wouldn't win that because of his physique. Branch Warren would win because of physique. A Troy Ellis physique would win Classic all day long. That's why I think Classic is almost the easiest to judge, if you want to use the word easiest, because of the criteria. It's about that small waist, the wide lats, the wide shoulders. So really, you got a criteria to win there. You would not have a Branch Warren winning Classic. Never would.
Because it's the only class that truly has a written limitation.
Yeah.
It has a written limitation. Yeah, it has a written limitation, which is going to keep you in a certain parameter. Because honestly, if you break those limitations, you are somewhere between bodybuilding and limbo. But
not going to do well.
Yeah, and that, it's fair because, like we said again, genetics playing into structures. Some people just don't have the structure to be a Ronnie Coleman, a Jake, even a Dxvynscxtt for that matter. Like these guys are. Dxvynscxtt in the world of bodybuilding in the 90s was actually considered small, and he is a very big guy.
You see him in person?
Yeah.
He takes his shirt off? Crazy.
I know Dex. But so what I'm saying is this is a very big guy, but in standards of bodybuilding in his era, he competed 3rd place against Jay Cutler and Ronnie Coleman. These guys outweighed him by 70 pounds. Yeah. And it's crazy to be in there, but also we have to remember there was no 212 class then. There was, even then it was the 202s, which were much smaller than 212. I mean, people don't understand how much 10 pounds
is huge.
Makes a difference at that level. So, and Dex being a little on the taller side for a 212 guy, he was always on the small. You have your Sean Rays and guys who had dynamite, insane physiques, but they're not genetic ability to be Ronnie Coleman. I mean,
There's only one.
Sean Ray, arguably one of the best physiques that ever existed again, but not on the size of the spectrum. And sadly for him, there was no 212s back then. You know what I'm saying? He had to get in there with these guys that were 270 pounds at 212 pounds, and yeah. So, I mean, but we know the sport is taking its turn, and I think the new classes, like I said, the 212s, all of these classes, the men's physique, they all definitely have made their place. Like we were talking about before, I think that there's a line in the sand where I'm a little worried. We keep adding classes instead of differentiating the classes. And I don't know it's bad, but I don't know if it's good either. It's just a toss-up for me at this point.
Yeah, I would like those two things to come down a little bit, and I think we get more people entering the shows. I really do.
Yeah,
it's tough to do all that for sure.
We talked about the old days where there were 400, 500 plus competitors in 2014.
We had
the definitive numbers.
It was 2014. Bikini's only out for a couple of years, right?
Felicia
and
Romero.
It was,
even women's physique was brand new.
They had suits off the racks for $50, and you entered the show, and it was a lot different look back then. And without crossovers, we had 514 athletes without crossovers. It was the biggest NPC show in the history at that time. It really was. It was just insane.
May have been one of the biggest times of bodybuilding. I mean, as far as the popularity of bodybuilding, I would say that had to be. I mean, that was the rise of Dana Lynn Bailey. Those were the early days of Dana Lynn. The first classic physique. What was his name? He was here. What was he? A pro. He was like the first guy to turn men's physique. He was from Arizona. I can't think of what his name was. You know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I just remember those guys, back in the beginning when men's physique first got popular and women's physique got popular.
I think our first
Matt Christian, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
How was his name? Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt. Anyway. But yeah, no, those are the guys coming up, and it's just, that was such a big time for bodybuilding. And like you said, maybe the classes should have stayed a little more separated like they were at the time.
Cycles. We'll figure it out.
It was very popular then.
We'll figure it out.
But, new classes, however they do it, bodybuilding is bodybuilding. All right, guys. Do you have anything you wanted to add to all of this, Miles? We kind of went through just about everything. I feel that, like we talked about, classic bodybuilding has always been definitive. If you're, in my opinion, anywhere near doing bodybuilding, you know what it is. I don't think you need our help.
Well, like I say, it's been more than a minute put on these shows, and I just still thrilled to be here. Still absolutely love it. It's something I want to do, for a very long time in the future. Just keep plugging away at this and keep doing it. And you athletes, and hearing your stories and hearing your thank yous and coming up to me and talking to me and years and years of competing. I had a gentleman. I'm so sorry, I forgot your name, sir, but you came up to me, I think about 3 or 4 shows ago, and you had the T-shirt from my very first shows, and you showed me the T-shirt from 1995. I'm like, oh my gosh. And just hearing how these shows affect your lives and what they're doing for you and giving you encouragement and giving you confidence and hearing your stories. And by the way, Jeff, one of my favorite things is we have bios in our country forums. And gosh, folks, to hear the stories that you tell, and it's just amazing. Anywhere from, I had a gentleman one time who was in a coma for literally 3 months. He was in a car accident. The doctor said never he'll walk again. He'll be, probably in a wheelchair the rest of his life. He's on stage competing, doing these shows. I mean, the inspiration that these guys have and the tenacity to get through these tough times in life and do this is unbelievable. We have dedications from athletes who loved ones passed away. A wife or a husband or a father or even a child has passed away, and uses to dedicate to them. And just people use these shows for so many different things, and just all about me, look at me. There's a lot of wonderful stories out there. That's why I love our bios, to hear those stories, and I love being part of it. And I love the phone calls, I love the emails, I love talking to you guys. Thanks for your support for all these years. Wow, 26 years, it's unbelievable. And still coming in strong and still doing these shows. And the COVID this last year has been absolutely insane. You guys are persevering, you're coming through, we're doing this together. They throw us a lot of curveballs this year, the government and all these different things. And COVID's done a lot of things to us, but we're still going strong. We're still getting through these shows, we're putting them on, and what a wonderful community to be part of. Thank you very much for all these years, folks. I really appreciate it.
Don't forget to tell them how to get a hold of you, Miles, and the website so you guys can know what upcoming shows.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been the same website for years, npcmilesproductions.com. You find my phone number on there. I love talking to you. I advertise my phone number everywhere. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Tell us your thoughts, your ideas about this interview. What do you want to see in these classes coming up? How can we help you achieve your dreams? And see what we can do for you. Anything you need, let me know. I'm there for you.
Again, I'm Jeff, XS Customs. You guys can Google me. T-shirts, banners, posters, stickers, anything you guys need, give me a shout. Thanks.
Thank you. God bless.